Have you ever witnessed a moment so unexpected that time seemed to pause for just a second? A moment where the room went quiet, heads turned, and no one quite knew how to react? That's exactly what happened when Courtney Thorne-Smith made an appearance that no one saw coming. This wasn't just another celebrity sighting or a typical fashion moment. It was surprising, bold, and impossible to ignore. People didn't just notice her, they stopped, stared, and talked. And the reason behind this moment goes far beyond what she wore. There's a deeper story at play, one tied to identity, confidence, and change. Stay with us, and once you see the full picture, you'll understand why this single appearance became unforgettable. The image people thought they knew for decades. Courtney Thorne-Smith had been a familiar and comforting presence in Hollywood. She wasn't defined by flashy fashion statements or attention-grabbing antics. Instead, she exuded warmth, approachability, and quiet confidence. Audiences who watched Melrose Place or According to Jim knew her as someone dependable, emotionally grounded, and relatable. She wasn't the loudest voice in the room, and she didn't need to be. Her career thrived on subtlety, not spectacle. This consistency built a deep trust with viewers over time. People felt like they understood her, not just as a performer, but as a personality. That image made her a safe and predictable figure, and when she finally stepped outside that familiar box, the reaction was instantaneous and intense. A career built on quiet success. Courtney's rise in Hollywood wasn't fueled by controversy or a desire for attention. She worked steadily, picking roles that reflected emotional depth and realism. In an industry often obsessed with reinvention, she remained remarkably consistent. That steadiness made her a comforting presence on television, particularly during the 1990s and early 2000s. Fans connected with her not just because of her characters, but because she felt like someone they could relate to. She wasn't chasing headlines or trying to stay relevant. She simply showed up, delivered strong performances, and let her work speak for itself. Over time, that consistency became part of her identity. Fans admired her restraint and privacy, which further reinforced the perception that she valued substance over spectacle. That's why her later appearance felt less like a fashion choice and more like a statement about change. The moment everything changed. When Courtney Thorne-Smith stepped into the spotlight, it was clear from the start that this moment was different. The outfit was bold, confident, and strikingly different from her usual understated style. It wasn't about excess or provocation, but it radiated an unmistakable boldness that demanded attention. Conversations stopped. Cameras shifted focus. People looked twice, then a third time, trying to reconcile this new image with the one they had carried for years. The shock wasn't rooted in judgment, but in sheer disbelief. This was Courtney, but also someone entirely new. That tension between the familiar and the transformed is what made the moment so powerful. It wasn't just fashion, it was a visible break from expectation that left everyone wondering what had changed. Why the reaction was so strong. The intensity of the public's reaction wasn't really about the clothes Courtney was wearing. It was about the contrast. When someone who is known for subtlety suddenly embraces boldness, it creates a jarring shift. People don't always know how to respond right away. Some admired her confidence, while others questioned her motivations, but no one ignored her. Social media only amplified the response, turning the appearance into a viral conversation. Photos spread quickly, accompanied by a mix of disbelief, praise, curiosity, and speculation. What stood out most was how divided the reactions became. This division was telling. She had disrupted a narrative that people thought was fixed. When a public figure challenges the version of themselves that the world feels comfortable with, the response is rarely quiet. Fashion as a form of voice clothing is more than fabric. It's a form of expression. For Courtney, her outfit that day spoke volumes without uttering a single word. It wasn't chaotic or careless, it was intentional, carefully chosen. The confidence she exuded made it clear that this wasn't about seeking approval, it was about ownership. Fashion can be a powerful form of self-expression, and when used authentically, it declares, "This is who I am now." Whether people liked the outfit or not, the message was clear. Courtney wasn't hiding, apologizing, or explaining herself. She simply showed up, fully present in her choice. This act of fashion wasn't just about looking good, it was about being unapologetically visible in a way that she hadn't done before. And that's what made it so compelling. The internet takes over. Once the images of Courtney's bold appearance hit social media, the moment transformed from a singular event into a full-scale cultural conversation. Comment sections flooded with reactions, ranging from admiration to confusion. Some praised her fearlessness, while others struggled to reconcile this image with the calm, familiar actress they thought they knew. Memes appeared, headlines followed, and reaction videos popped up dissecting every detail of her look. Even fellow celebrities weighed in, some applauding her bravery, others expressing surprise at how unexpected the moment felt. What fueled the momentum wasn't unanimous approval, but constant engagement. People talked about it, shared their opinions, and reconsidered their assumptions. This wasn't a manufactured moment. It felt real, emotional, and spontaneous, which is why it quickly became a viral conversation. Was it about attention? Whenever a public figure shifts their usual image, questions about their motives arise. Some critics immediately suggested that Courtney's bold appearance was a strategic move to reclaim relevance or pull herself back into the spotlight. But that narrative feels too simple and doesn't align with the way Courtney has navigated her career. She has never relied on shock or controversy to stay relevant. Her success has always been grounded in consistency, talent, and restraint. So the idea that she suddenly needed attention doesn't quite add up. A more thoughtful interpretation would suggest that this moment wasn't about seeking external validation. It was about Courtney seeing herself in a new light. Growth and self-discovery often happen long before the world notices. Perhaps this appearance was a reflection of an inner shift, a subtle declaration of self, not a cry for validation. Not every bold choice is a performance. Sometimes it's an affirmation of personal growth. The power of personal choice. What made this moment resonate so deeply was that it touched on something universal, the desire to define ourselves on our own terms. Courtney's appearance symbolized autonomy in a world that often resists it, especially for women in the public eye. Society tends to freeze celebrities in time, expecting them to remain unchanged for the comfort of their audience. Breaking that unspoken contract requires courage. By choosing something that felt true to herself, Courtney challenged the notion that personal evolution needs to be justified. That kind of confidence doesn't need to shout for attention. It stands quietly, firmly. The impact of this moment wasn't just about fashion, it was about watching someone redefine herself, regardless of expectation. The emotional response it elicited, a mix of admiration and discomfort, is exactly what made the moment so unforgettable. Aging and expectation in Hollywood. Hollywood has long struggled with allowing women to age openly, confidently, and without apology. As actresses grow older, the expectations often narrow rather than expand, pushing them toward invisibility or confining them to predictable roles. Courtney's appearance that day was a quiet resistance against that pattern. It sent a message that confidence doesn't have an expiration date and that reinvention isn't reserved for the young. Instead of shrinking into the familiar, she stepped into something new, reminding everyone that maturity and boldness can coexist. This wasn't loud rebellion or forced provocation. It was calm defiance, subtle yet powerful. By stepping outside the box people had placed her in, Courtney redefined what it means to age gracefully in the public eye. This moment wasn't just about fashion, it was about identity, autonomy, and the right to age in the spotlight without fitting into a prescribed mold. Why it made people uncomfortable. Discomfort often arises when expectations are disrupted, and that's exactly what happened with Courtney's appearance. Many people felt unsettled, not because her look was inappropriate, but because it clashed with the narrative they had built around her for decades. When someone refuses to stay in the role others have assigned them, it forces us to confront our own assumptions. This isn't always a comfortable process. Courtney's confidence acted as a mirror, silently asking why change feels threatening and why boldness is often questioned instead of celebrated. The silence she created in that room, and later online, wasn't awkward. It was reflective. Moments like this show how tightly society clings to familiar stories, especially about women who age in the public eye. When those stories are challenged, the reaction says more about the audience than about the person who dared to change. A moment of quiet bravery. Despite all the headlines, opinions, and endless commentary, there was something strikingly calm about how Courtney handled the attention. She didn't issue dramatic statements or rush to explain herself. There were no defensive interviews or attempts to control the narrative. She simply allowed the moment to exist. That restraint felt deeply authentic and consistent with who she has always been. Even as her outward appearance shifted, her demeanour remained grounded and composed. She showed that bravery doesn't require shouting or drawing attention. Sometimes it's about being fully present and choosing not to shrink even when the world is watching. This quiet courage lingers long after the cameras turn off, reshaping how the moment and the person behind it is remembered. More than just a dress. At the end of the day, it wasn't just the fabric, the skin, or the style people couldn't stop talking about, it was transformation. The moment worked because it carried meaning beyond appearance. It reminded audiences that even the most familiar figures still have layers that remain unseen. Courtney Thorne-Smith didn't reject who she had been, she expanded on it, and that expansion caught people off guard in the most human way. Whether people loved the look, questioned it, or felt conflicted, they were emotionally engaged. They reacted, reflected, and reconsidered their assumptions. This is the true measure of impact. Fashion trends fade, headlines move on, and viral moments disappear. But moments that challenge perception stay with us. This was one of those moments. Subtle, surprising, and lasting. The lasting impression. Long after the shock faded and the headlines slowed, what remained was a deep respect for the confidence it took for Courtney to step into that moment unapologetically. She reminded people that growth doesn't need approval and that reinvention can be quiet, elegant, and powerful all at once. She showed that even those known for subtlety can command attention without losing authenticity. This appearance wasn't about stealing the spotlight or redefining her legacy overnight. It was about standing comfortably in the space she chose for herself. And sometimes that's all it takes to stop a room, spark a conversation, and remind everyone that the most unexpected moments often come from the people we thought we already understood.